am Pule Molebati for Stories Untold. Welcome to the show. As we look back at the year that was, each and every one of us is taking stock of that particular year with the aim to plan and do better for this new year. Our featured guest for the show today has decided to take stock of his entire life in a form of a book. He is doing this to inspire entrepreneurs and everybody else who's passionate about pursuing their dreams. Today we are sharing the story of entrepreneur Kehli Mpanyane, who's written the book From Bad to Worse to Miracle.
Kehli was raised by a single mother. I never knew my father. I'm alone at home. So, as you are growing up from the villages, this year, 2 years, ukhuliswa ugogo, this gogo, and the next 5 years ukhuliswa auntie. That's how I grew up. And if father figure, I had to get it from my cousins, my uncles at the time, who were my elderly at the time. So okay, that's how I grew up basically. And khuliswe abantu abaningi within my relative wethu. I grew up in the villages of eQwaqwa, ngikhule eBlata. And then as I was growing up, as I had mentioned earlier, ukuthi bazokuthatha and take you to another ugogo, and then from eBulata I had to go to Puelong, but it's also part of the villages. And then from Puelong, when I was in my primary, coming back to Katlehong, that's when Katlehong is just next to Germiston here in Natalspruit. Growing up, I realized that somehow it must have been the voice of God telling me who I was. Because to be honest with you, even in school, at a very young age, I used to say, it was like I did not even know that it was the voice of God telling me when you were meant to be an entrepreneur. So the reason I did not even worry so much, mangi failure, my matric, it's because I realized at an early age, they are for the most part, by schooling so that they could be hired by companies. Because I really did not want to be hired, but I wanted to be an employer. I could see the light very clearly from a young age.
Kehli Mpanyane's childhood consisted of being shuttled between relatives and instability. All that changed in his early 20s when he sharpened his business acumen and he decided that entrepreneurship was his calling.
The first 2 years after I dropped out, my uncle was in partnership with some beautiful, amazing woman. She used to own a restaurant, she owned the Ledikwa store, and there was a coffee shop as well. So there were 3 in 1. So I went and helped them. I was doing the general work, and I worked with them for 2 years. For 2 years. And it was good that I did that because it was in an environment of business. I could learn some of the principles of selling, treating customers, as I was also on the till. And I learned a lot from that 2 years. And that 2 years, immediately after I left school, the year after I got married. And then 2 years later, I resigned. I went to Horton to study the skin, because they had told me that I can make a lot of money with cruise ship when you do the massage in cruise ship and all that. We did that. I remember we enrolled with my ex-wife to do that, but I never really went to the cruise ship, but instead we started a business, a mobile beauty clinic. I wanted to really work with celebrities, because I had realized that celebrities could open a lot of opportunity and give us credibility and the weight in our business. And I prayed about it. I really asked God for guidance, and God is so good. He did that. The first person that I met in my life as a celebrity, to be involved with celebrity, was Ifomol. I'm not sure if you know Ifomol. Ifrem Budingwana. Only to realize that he was my homeboy. He's from Kwaqwa. We connected, and he would introduce me to the people in the beauty space, like the late Iko Mesh, to people like Tembi Siete, to people like Somizi. I remember I pitched my idea to Somizi, and before you know it, we were doing the massage for his choreographers backstage.
After getting married very early in his life and achieving success in the beauty industry, Ketley rolled the dice and ventured into the property business.
3 years, 4 years later, my greatest breakthrough, if I should say, came from property. I sold so many houses. I was selling from 6 to 9 houses every month with Chess Everett Properties. After 4 months, 5 months, I left Chess Everett Properties and I was on my own. And I sold so many houses. I made a lot of money as a young man. I made a lot of money. You can imagine if you were to sell from 6 to 9 houses every month without fail. It was my peak. It was my peak. It was my peak because I had even grown from buying, from selling houses to now buying houses on auction. And then you buy that house for 1.2 million, but the actual value of the house, let's say, is 1.8. So as a businessman, what you do then, because you did not buy the house for yourself, you bought it to sell. The house could be sold even in 2 weeks or even a week or in 2 days. It was the beginning of my many breakthroughs, selling of houses. I will concurrently do events because the events is my passion. I met with a childhood friend of mine. In the nutshell, he said, I have some money that I have saved. I want you to help me with my ideas to run this group, but we'll first start with the restaurant. So that's how Scheme GP was birthed. So we started a restaurant called Scheme GP. They say it was Sentin in the location. It was Elegance in the township. So starting Scheme GP, not only the money was coming and the business was flowing, now the fame came because we hosted many politicians, we hosted celebrities.
Welcome back and thank you for staying here. I am Pule Molebatsi. You are still watching Stories Untold. They say that every level of your life will require a different version of you. Our featured guest today, when he was at the lowest point of his life, he detailed a book. Not to remember the sad times of his life, but to be reminded of a period that rebirthed the man that he is today.
My biggest breakthrough, remember, was houses. But I could say that I was doing it for money. I was not really in love with what I was doing. As a result, I was not a happy man. I met a friend of mine from Durban, an entrepreneur herself. She was into construction. Then we did a company, which was a division of her own company, where we would be together. And really pushing it. It was in energy, solar energy. And we would then supply to the underprivileged, like your RDPs, Abantu Basim Kukwini, and so forth. We had even roped in some of the municipalities. That project at a failure rate will still be billionaires in 3 years. But we invested my time, the money, and everything else in it because I was really tired of other things, and I left everything just to focus on this one. As entrepreneurs, we did not do our groundwork as we were in so much in a hurry to make these billions that I'm telling you about. We had a bad luck with our suppliers who told us that, sorry guys, we've tried everything, but it seems like there's a delay and it can take years. We did not have a backup plan. Firstly, you lose the stashed money somewhere under the mattress because we have this money in different places, and you see, I'm losing the one in the safe, I'm losing the one in the ceiling, and you lose the one in the bank, and you go start to borrow money. Somehow along the way you don't qualify to borrow money anymore, and then you start calling friends, please borrow me, my friend, and all that, until all your friends are tired. You start to lose cars. You have cars that you can't pay anymore. You have houses that are there, but you can't pay the bond anymore. What obviously broke me was the divorce. That almost took me to my grave, and I had to move in back to where I grew up, to Katlehong. And when I moved in there were cousins who were younger, but now they are big from Kwakwa and all that. They are there to come to Joburg to start a life, you know. You do not even have a bedroom to sleep. So I had to sleep on the floor, you know. Yes, I had to sleep on the floor, becoming the laughing stock of abantu baselogishi. You know, people, you know how people are. The very same people, when you come to a logish, they will say, hey, Katie, 20 rand there. But now they are saying, yeah, you know, you face a lot of rejection, not only from your friends, from your cousins as well, because I was born alone, raised by a single parent, as I had mentioned, with crannies. So I grew up with cousins. I grew up with so much cousins, and coming from a poverty-stricken background, here you are, they are thinking you are all dead. You told them that you will be on TV, because I was on TV a lot of time. I did my TV shows, my international TV shows and all that. You have the money and all these things. You know, you are becoming everything that you told them you're going to become. Because of that, they are only human. Jealousy will come. But when you lose everything, they say, yeah, who does he think he is, you know? That's the rejection part that you need to deal with, and it's very painful.
After losing it all, his business and his marriage, the unexpected happened. Kethley's world came to a complete and abrupt stop.
My mother died in that phase. I was staying somewhere at a B&B in Lone Hill, right? And as I was staying there, it was even by the grace of God that I could afford that place. Actually, I was not affording the place. Somebody was paying for me at that place. Somebody was paying for me. I received a call from home, Free State, that told me that your dearest mother is sick. A long story short, 7 days later she passed. My mom was not just my mom. Even I was growing up with grannies. She would always come when the schools are closed on weekends. She would buy me new pairs of shoes. She would buy me everything I needed. She spoiled me. So she was not just a mother, she was my best friend. Even at the later stages where I was now a young man, I would sit with my mom in the house and we would laugh, and we would think there's many people, because she liked my jokes and all that. And at the burial was Saturday. Sunday I came back, you know. On a Monday morning, the manager of that place came and said, but Katie, I understand that you lost your mother, but if you can't pay here, it's a B&B, you know, we pay upfront. We have to let you go. I said, but please. And then they said, no, we understand, but remember we are running a business. I said, okay.
He buried his mother in Kwakwa on a Saturday, came back to Johannesburg on a Sunday, and was kicked out of this very room on Monday. It was during this time on the streets that his big idea came to life.
I had this friend of mine, he just met him. It's funny that he also did not have a place to stay, but he had a car at least, and then we would spend the night in his car outside the garage. And I wrote my book from a borrowed car. Because it was winter, I would write it in the car to get warm from the sun. At night, I would still write it in the car and warm water and put it kuskupu and put a blanket. That's how I wrote my book, and it took me to 6 months to write my book. But after writing my book, I could not publish it same time, because I knew that I wanted to be a self-publisher. So I wrote it and stashed it. I've tried many projects, man. After there, I would approach schools, designing programs for schools and approaching schools, selling laptops in schools, selling the screens, so many things in school, just hustling, you know. But my coming back did not happen a once-off thing. It didn't happen like that. It happened in stages. So I started even coming back with my talks. People today pay me a lot of money to talk. And this wisdom that comes, really, it comes from my experiences.
Welcome back to the show. Hustlers Business School, it's not your typical business school. It is Kehli Mpanyani's brainchild. It's a platform where entrepreneurs come together to share their journey in business with the hope to inspire aspiring entrepreneurs to help them avoid the same mistakes that they made in business. Later on the show, though, we'll be talking to colleagues and friends of Kehli about the person that he has become.
On the selling of my book, as I was meeting with these kinds of people who would want to get into the business side, become an entrepreneur, but they did not know how, then an idea was birthed in my spirit. The idea was the Hustlers Business School, because I was already hustling. And even before I go further, I just want to make clarity of this name, the Hustler. People have asked me about why would you name your school Hustler? Because according to the dictionary Merriam-Webster, the word hustler is somebody who scams people money, a robber, somebody who steals money. But I'm using the name hustler in a colloquial sense, not in the real meaning of what it means by dictionary, but in a friendly manner, the language that we can all understand, because a hustler, I believe, is somebody who's not waiting for opportunities, but who goes after opportunities. So the school is in Dainfern, not in Dainfern Design Quarter, in 4 ways. And what is nice about my school, the difference between my school and the traditional business school, is that my teachers are successful entrepreneurs. Let's say you come and register or enroll for construction, you will be taught by a person who has failed and succeeded in that space. So they teach you based on their experiences, which I believe is a gap in our education system. Hence, I'm trying to close the gap. So the school, I have my students who are registering. That's what I do currently. And really, it was also inspired by my highs in business, by my lows in business, by my weaknesses, by my successes in business, so that whatever is in me through my experiences, I can then teach those who want to be entrepreneurs, because really, we do not have time to learn from your own mistakes. We must learn from other people's mistakes.
He extends his business advice to friends and mentees on a regular basis.
I started to text Kehli on WhatsApp to say, Kehli, I'm reading your book. It's very, very inspiring, your story. I know very well that in order for you to see far, you have to stand on the shoulders of the giants. So I'm like, Kehli, no, you need to try to help me, because I believe that everyone needs a mentor. But I just started my own business. We are washing shoes. I call it Shoe Spa ZA. More than anything that I always tell him is that I want to own a business, a multi-millionaire or billionaire business. That's what I want to do. And I understand that under his wing, that is possible, because that guy is very, very inspirational. So I started with my cousin. So when I come back from work, I actually sit down and wash shoes. And maybe if he was not busy at school, he will be taking some orders. So recently, Kehli gave me a book on, it's actually about the story from that guy selling the shoes from the back of his car. He knew that I'm actually washing shoes, because now there is some relationships. Maybe, who knows, maybe I'm washing shoes, someday I'll be producing my own shoes, a brand that will go globally. Yes. The business school of hustlers, or Hustler Business School. Yes, I have intentions to go there, because what I like about Kehli and his circle is people who think business. They are so positive, those guys. They don't think that what if people don't buy. They don't think that. And it's actually a very nice space, because us from university, we are trained to study, go work for someone. So he comes with a very different dimension in my life. The intention is actually to go there and learn from people who are doing business, not from people who are having PhDs, who have MBA, people who are actually on business.
I met Kehli, I think it's been 5 months now. Yes, I'm getting few advices from him, even for business, because of the book that he wrote. and also because he came and became part of a program that I did, which was a session, and then he was one of the speakers. So because of that, we started engaging more and more, and he was giving me few advices on what I needed to do as I was preparing for my event. So in preparing for the event, there were a lot of challenges in terms of certain things that we did not have access to, money and stuff like that. But he was there to encourage me, to say, no, let's push. I remember at some point I wanted to postpone it, but he was there to encourage me. And also when he came in, he says, you know what, I wrote a book and I can come in to encourage the artists and some of the people that were there. And for me, I was shocked, because I know that people do not give their time for free. But he said, you know what, I'm gonna come, and this testimony of not giving up, and especially when you want to go for something, no matter how it looks now, but the minute you continue and you press on into what vision you have or what dream you have, I think that really encouraged me the most.
Even in his personal life, he inspires and supports friends like Lisa Hadebe.
So we met on Facebook. We had a mutual friend, and we started talking, and eventually we met at Palazzo. So that's where our friendship started, and it grew from there to more of a sister and a brother relationship. He gets me in a sense that even when I'm serious, he finds something funny about how I deal and handle him. When I first met him, he looked like everything was okay, you know. He rocked up for our first meeting, he looked the part, he spoke the part. But you see, that's what we do when we meet people for the first time. We don't openly we don't just open up and start telling them our life stories until we have found a place of comfort in them and how they treat us, you know. And so it took a bit of time for him to start telling me how things have just started going downhill with him. And that's the reason why he ended up living with my family. When the highs happened, he was kind enough to give me a call and share with me how God has blessed him and how things were going in his life, so that I can celebrate with him as much as I was able to be a place of refuge at that time. Let me tell you why I love Kathy. When I started talking to him about my positioning, what I was going through emotionally, internally, and wanting to understand this whole process where he was there for me. He has been part of my journey, part of encouraging me to stand even in the midst of difficulties. That's why I love him.
If you can believe in you, you can see great things happen in your life, and we can all change the world.
And just like that, we've come to the end of our show. Remember, we've all been given yet another 365 days to try. If you tried last year and it didn't work out, you have another chance. The only problem is if you throw in the towel and walk away. Remember, we are here to cheer you every step of the way. After all, we are the home of inspiration right here on this show. Until next week, goodbye.